Video games have had what we call non-player characters for years, who you would walk up to and you would have a conversation that usually was a text choice, multiple choice. They would give you a scripted answer. What if that was just a much more natural interaction? May still be multiple choice, but how can it not feel multiple choice?
Douglas is an autonomous virtual human that we developed at Digital Domain in the Digital Human Group over the past 18 months. Autonomous means that he's a digital entity, obviously, that is able to communicate with a user and who appears to be live and does everything in real time. So I would like to show you how he works, how flexible he is, what he can, and also a little bit pointing out what his limitations are. So this is a work in progress. You will see some things are working really very well and looking really very well, and some things still need some development work. But as I said, it's a work in progress. Also, I want to point out this is really a live demo, so we will not control anything he's doing here while I'm speaking with him. Of course, there are certain things prepared, but this doesn't matter. There's a deep core in him that is just autonomous, so not even I know exactly what he will do. So let me start by showing you an introduction. It's we call these things stories, where we give him a purpose where he should do something. In this case, his purpose will be telling me how he works and how I should work with him. So let's wake him up. Hey, Douglas. Hey, Douglas. Give me the intro.
I'd love to teach you how I work. If you want to skip my introduction, just say skip introduction. See the menu in the top right-hand corner. This is my memory. Try it out now by telling me your name.
My name is Matthias.
Nice to meet you, Matthias. When you speak to me, I will wait for you to stop speaking before I respond. So please pause for a moment after you are finished speaking. Let's try it now. What is your favorite color, Matthias?
My favorite color is purple.
Sounds great. I like purple too.
I like French food.
Do you have any pets? I have a dog. He's a poodle. Do you like dogs?
I like dogs. I have a bird.
What kind of bird do you have? I have a parrot named Bubbles.
Switch location.
That's fun, isn't it?
Switch location.
Unbelievable.
Switch location.
Unbelievable.
Switch to default location.
Here you go.
You know, some of your answers sound a little bit scripted.
I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm just having a good time chatting with you.
I'm sorry, I don't want to get too close to you, but I just think sometimes it sounds a bit scripted.
You don't have to get close to me. You can just chat with me. It's not scripted.
Interesting. How is your face rendered?
Everything is rendered in Unreal Engine, but we have added a neural rendering layer that uses machine learning to add much more realism to my face.
Switch your face.
Here's a different face.
Oh, now you look like John Canning.
I've never heard that before, but I'll take it as a compliment. Thank you.
Autonomous virtual human is fairly challenging. So there's all these technical issues you already run into. It's in real time. You have to render him in real time. It has to look as real as possible if you want to do it human-like. We have our charlatan renderer, so we can enhance even Unreal renders to be even more realistic. We have to do real-time voice. In this case, we synthesized Doug's voice to use for Douglas. and that doing this in real time is actually a real big task. We have to make him move naturally and fitting to what he is saying. And then there are all these logic issues you run into. Is he supposed to talk to right now? Who is he talking to? What is he talking about? How should he talk? And all these different complications are handled by different technologies. And many of those we are handling in-house at Digital Domain. So the renderer, for example, all this animation, all these things we take care of. But there are some parts we really don't want to take care of because there are other companies that are doing this already very well, like text bots. I mean, why would we develop a text bot? There are many out there. It is way more important for our system and for our design philosophy that our system is modular and we can just utilize anything that is out there. We can plug it together and give it an overarching logic, an overarching AI that really knows what to do with it, to analyze when to use which bot, how to make him behave when he's saying which things, no matter where the text is coming from, he will behave in a certain way if he feels like it. And this is pretty much how our autonomous human Douglas works. And with that, I'm handing it back to John.
Oh, thank you, Matthias. Thank you, Douglas. Hey, Matthias, where are you guys headed next? Where do we think that, what's the big thing that we want to tackle?
There are many fields actually we want to tackle. This is the thing with autonomous humans. You could use them in so many areas, in so many directions. We start using them more in pre-productions, in previs. We are about to build a kiosk-like setup where multiple people can communicate with him. You can technically or idea-wise, you can use an autonomous human wherever there is artificial communication between people and a computer. But if you think it further, he has character. He is kind of alive. So you could use him for even like an actor almost, If you think of interactive storytelling, for example, what we had so far in games and in these attempts of making interactive movies, this was very clearly multiple choice branch stories, usually. There are some exceptions, but there's certainly none with a realistic feeling human character where you may run into a conversation with him and affecting the story by that. And thinking about that, writing stories, making movies in an interactive way is a real new task. You have to design your stories a little bit differently. You have to actually write a lot of story just for the character, just to give the character memory and a character for the character, So he acts in a certain way when you communicate with him. And so there are many fields where you can use them. It's just much more enjoyable talking to someone with a real face that seems to have feelings and that is emotional than just reading some text.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matthias. Thank you, everyone back home. I do owe everybody a drink when I get home for getting up so early. So thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
So as Matthias was pointing out, with the aid of Douglas, there's a lot of work. A lot of work goes into this. And I wouldn't say that we've cracked it to that, complete uncanny valley from all those aspects. The voice is one of them, going back to audio. Basically what you were hearing is Doug Roebel's real voice, but synthesized in real time to answer those questions. If you go to other voices, again, the things I played earlier where it was text-to-speech, it's a little easier. That real-time, subtle nuance of voice. And to get the nuances, the highs, the lows, the inflection, all of those pieces coming together. But you think about it, Matthias went there with the video games and, a dizzying array of things we produced. It is that interesting valley, right? Video games have had what we call non-player characters for years, who you would walk up to and you would have a conversation that usually was a text choice, multiple choice, they would give you a scripted answer. What if that was just a much more natural interaction? May still be multiple choice, but how can it not feel multiple choice? You talk about digital kiosks. You talk about digital characters. Well, how many of you have gone on to online, needed help, that little text box pops up, and Debbie wants to help you answer your question? Debbie happens to be a chatbot. I don't mean to destroy your illusions. She's not real. It's true. But the interesting thing is, what if a person pops up on the screen, starts interacting with you? Could be potentially driven by AI. The interesting aspect of this is when potentially that AI can't keep going and hands over to another human that is driving that same character seamlessly. So what we, again, starting to see how you can drive digital characters in multiple different ways. And you can see from Douglas's performance, reactions, there's still things we got to work on. But we're chipping away at those pieces and frankly understanding what the challenges are. But it's all about creating the believable characters, giving them a real performance, and then believing about them.